Court TV Extra.
Tonight, the evidence is in, the witnesses have spoken, and now it's up to the jury. And we're on the edge of our seats as we await a verdict. Our all-star panel looks back at the Cody Posey case, including the ranch hand who says he saw the teen abused firsthand. Stand by, it's a special hour of Catherine Crier Live coming your way right now. Bloom in for Catherine Crier. Thanks so much for joining me. It is 8.5 hours and counting as the jury continues to debate whether Cody Posey is a cold-blooded killer or an abused teen driven to the point of no return. We've invited an all-star panel to take us through the evidence and testimony. Listen closely and see how you might vote if you were on that jury. Carolyn Robbins-Manley is an expert at picking juries. She'll tell us what might be going on inside as we speak. Also with us, criminal defense attorney Paula Canny and former prosecutor Dean Johnson. Criminal defense attorney Joe Tacopina and former prosecutor Lisa Pinto are here with me, raring to go. And at the courthouse, Slim Britton, Sam Donaldson's former ranch hand who testified for the defense. And last, but definitely not least, Court TV correspondent Beth Karras. All right, Beth, straight out to you. I understand there's a knock. There's some movement in the courtroom. What's going on?
Well, there's a knock at the jury door about now 7 minutes ago. A bailiff went in and just came out with a note. So we don't know what that note is, and I'll just stand by and let you know as soon as I get word. But the bailiff just came out of the jury room after being in there for a few minutes with a note. All
right, Beth, and we know that you're getting live transmissions, and you'll be letting us know as soon as you know what exactly is going on. Take us back to about an hour or so ago. There was an email to the judge that prompted a brief hearing. What was that about?
Well, actually, it was a phone call to the judge. His assistant, Rosie Romero, took the call. The person who was calling said she wanted to send an email to the judge. The judge is not to get any communications related to the case, and there was just a little hearing to elicit what went on. A phone call came, someone wanted to send an email, but again, here's what the note is. Sorry, I just got an email. One of the jurors wanted to check on a child.
Okay.
So that's it.
Sometimes that's how it is. It could be a verdict, and the attorneys and the parties in the case are on the edge of their seats just as we are, and it's something like somebody wants to make a phone call or blow their nose or something inconsequential. Well, you let us know if anything a little bit more significant comes out of that courtroom, Beth. And in the meantime, let me go to Slim Britton. Slim, great to have the opportunity to talk to you again. Love the hat. As always, you've taken the time to travel over to Alamogordo to sit and wait for the outcome of this trial. How are you feeling right now?
Oh, I'm pretty antsy right now. I'm a little nervous on it. I'm kind of if it's going to happen, let it happen right now. But I understand those people are having a lot to discuss in there, and all we're doing is praying for the best.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Slim, we had a chance to talk to the two alternates who were dismissed yesterday here on this program. They both said they're glad that they were not chosen for this jury. They find this to be a very tough case. Now, you were perhaps one of the star witnesses for the prosecution, you and Cody Posey, rather, for the defense. And you testified that you saw some horrendous incidents of abuse, including with a hay hook, with a lariat, Cody being deprived of water. You lived this life with Cody Posey and Paul Posey. Of everything that you saw, Slim, what did you think the worst incident was?
Well, it kind of goes down between the two of the lariat rope and the hay hook incident. Those would be the two worst that I would see, you know.
And tell us what happened there, Slim.
Well, like I say, we were gathering cattle, and Cody was off down in the canyon below me, and he picked up a crippled cow, and he wasn't getting her to go real good, and his dad come riding up in back of him and just hit him across the back with a coiled up lariat rope, and you know, that's a pretty good whop.
Number of witnesses, of course, testified in this trial. About 34 witnesses, by my count, testified to abuse that they saw inflicted on Cody Posey. We have a little montage of that testimony. Take a look.
Paul reached over and
slapped him in the mouth, and it busted his lip open. It would give him spankings, and I would step in and tell him that's enough. And a lot of times he would tell Cody that he better thank me, because otherwise he would have got a bad whipping.
He would be sometimes so scared to go home that, and there's nothing we could do. You know, you feel useless.
A number of other witnesses, including Slim and Pilo, another ranch hand, testify as to what they saw. Lisa Pinto, from a prosecution point of view, might it have been a better strategy for the prosecutor to admit that this boy was abused to some extent? Perhaps he was exaggerating, but 34 witnesses probably did not come into the courtroom, raise their right hand, swear to tell the truth, and lie. He probably was abused, but nevertheless, it was still murder.
I mean, I could just play the rewind button here, because on the air, and since this trial began, I've been saying she's doing it all wrong. The jury believes this kid was abused, so go with it. And rather than focusing on whether he got hit twice or once, in front of Slim Pickens or in front of the manure salesman, the issue here is, why did he kill his little sister who never touched him, never hurt him? Maybe she was a tattletale, but, you know, under state law in New Mexico, I don't think you can blow the brains out of tattletales.
Well, Slim Britton, by the way. And Slim, let me go back to you, because you testified, if I heard you correctly, that Merrill Lee also was required to work all day in that hot New Mexico sun without getting any water. It sounds like life wasn't so perfect for her either.
Well, this is true. The one incident where I talked where the water was withheld, well, she was involved in that, and you know, I just had to take them both as they were.
But Slim, here's the problem. Abused children turning on their parents, that's something that we can understand. An abused child turning on a sibling who, it sounds like, at the worst, she might have ratted him out a few times. At the best, she could have been an abused child, too, from the defense point of view. How do you explain to us, you who knew Cody Posey so well, you worked side by side with him, you care about the boy, how do you explain him taking the gun and twice pulling the trigger and killing his kid sister?
Well, my thought on it is that it could have been anybody that came in that door that day, and I don't think it was, it could have been me, it could have been Sam Bottleson, it could have been anybody, but I think that once he snapped, and it was whatever moved.
Sounds
and,
like, yeah, it sounds like, let me go to Joe on this, everybody concedes to some extent. Everybody in this panel, everybody who's been on court TV is conceding to some extent that the kid was abused. The prosecutors in the case don't actually concede that. But the kid was abused. Do you agree?
Of course. And, you know, I don't think that's a legal defense to some of the charges here. And I think the prosecutor, I agree with Lisa on this one. To call his abuse de minimis, based on the credibility of these witnesses who have no reason to fabricate, who came in there and said things that, you know, a kid should never, ever have to be subject to call that de minimis, and to say that, you know, the defense, they're going to try and wipe some of the manure off the reputations of the victims. I mean, these two parents were horrible people by all accounts, by credible witnesses' accounts. To sort of embrace them as a prosecutor in this case, I think is a wrong strategy.
All right. Of course, a number of witnesses testified for the prosecution that they knew this family well and they didn't see any abuse. Take a look at this.
Did you ever hear any name calling?
No.
Did you ever hear any obscenities?
No.
Did you ever observe any marks or bruises on Cody?
No.
Would you have seen them, do you think?
Yes.
Did you ever see her hit him or beat him or anything?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Did you ever hear Treon cuss at him?
No, I did not.
Did you ever hear Treon cuss at anyone?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Did Mary Lee ever say anything bad about Cody?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever hear her call him any names?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever see Mary Lee hit Cody?
No, ma'am.
Slim, before I came to Court TV, I used to represent a lot of abused children. There were rarely any witnesses to the abuse because it usually goes on behind closed doors. So when you took the stand and other witnesses for the defense took the stand and say, I saw Paul Posey hold his son's head underwater until the bubbles stopped. I saw him slam the boy up against a wall and choke him. I was shocked. Then we heard from the prosecution witnesses who said, I never saw anything. How do you account for the fact, that Slim, that Paul was so open in abusing the kid in front of you, for example, and some others, and yet apparently did nothing in front of other people?
Well, the majority of the time it was probably when he didn't think I was around, or he didn't know just where I was, or something. But I can't say what they saw or what they didn't saw. All I can say is what I saw, and that's the only thing I can really say to that is, you know, what I saw is what I testified to, and nothing else.
Paula Canny, let me bring you in. We've heard from two alternate jurors now. They both say right off the bat, yes, they believe the defense. They believe that Cody was abused. That's not going to get him all the way to an acquittal necessarily, though, is it?
No, I mean, it isn't. But I actually think what the defense's goal here is, if they get an acquittal, that's great. But I really think what the goal of Gary Mitchell has been is to keep Cody Posey in the juvenile justice system. That is, that he not be sentenced as an adult. And so he accomplishes that even if there's 3 manslaughters. It allows it keeps it in the juvenile system. And that's what he said, I think, all along his goal is. And so even if it's imperfect self-defense, if he gets the voluntary manslaughter, Cody is only punished as a juvenile. And his mantra has been, remember, this is a 14-year-old boy. And he accomplishes keeping him in the juvenile justice system so long as there's, you know, not a first or a second degree conviction. And that's his goal.
Well, here's what Gary Mitchell did with that abuse evidence. He took it to the next step. He brought in an expert witness. Here's what she had to say.
He never knew when the next incident of abuse was going to happen. Sometimes he did things that provoked his father, or that his father wasn't satisfied with, and his father would deal with him in a physical way. At other times, his father would just go off on him in an unpredictable way. The stepmother was the same way, according to the information at hand. That she would also, he'd kick him, slap him, call him names, belittle him, and it could happen again at any moment in time.
All right, Dean Johnson, what about that testimony? Can we accept, have we evolved enough in our understanding of child abuse that this kid at any time could have a hay hook in his crotch, could have his head held underwater, could have his father insist that he have sex with his stepmother, when he refuses he gets branded, that the danger was imminent to him at any time?
Well, you might be able to accept that, and of course that's the defense's strategy. And the best thing that's happened to the defense is the judge's decision to give this imperfect self-defense, because it allows for beliefs, however irrational. The defense can then come in, use this entire course of conduct on the part of Paul Posey, and say, look, that puts somebody, even a grown-up, much less a child, in an irrational state of mind, where even if you and I wouldn't be in fear of imminent bodily harm, they might be. And however irrational that fear
why is it irrational? This was this child's life, witnessed by Slim,
well,
witnessed by a lot of people.
I'm not saying it is rational or irrational. I'm saying that's what the defense can argue. It doesn't matter whether it's rational or irrational. Even if you wouldn't hold it yourself, this child certainly could under those circumstances. That's the best argument the defense has got. What the prosecution has got to respond is to change the focus, and to focus this only on the time immediately surrounding the crime, and say, look, as he walked out to that barn, as he got that gun, as he loaded that gun, he wasn't in any imminent fear of bodily harm at that time, and that's what counts.
Yeah, the defense paints it almost as a prisoner of war situation, where he was always in fear, always legitimately in fear, as that abuse kept escalating closer and closer to the killings. Of course, the prosecution had an expert that took the opposite point of view. Take a listen to this.
What Cody told me is that at the time before the killings occurred, he considered 4 other alternatives to killing. Should he call CYFD? Should he run away? Should he tell a teacher or tell his teachers? Or should he just live with it? In his words, he said, nothing else worked, might as well just do it, so I did.
All right, Beth, I heard this expert say that Cody Posey said to him he thought about the different options. He decided to kill. That certainly sounds like premeditation. I didn't hear Cody Posey say that either in his police statement or in his testimony. Do we hear him say that anywhere else?
Geez, I thought that I recalled his saying that in his, no, he wouldn't have said it in his testimony. You know what? I think that that is the only place that we heard it, because Gary Mitchell was very careful to stay away from the crimes themselves so that he couldn't be cross-examined on it when Cody was on the stand. He did ask him about his state of mind, but I don't think he did ask him about weighing the different options. But weighing the options is exactly what deliberate intention means.
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
why the prosecution wanted to get that out.
Yeah, and it's perplexing to me. The only place we hear that is from the prosecution expert. Slim, I know we have to let you go as you sit there on pins and needles waiting for this jury to come back. What would you like to see happen to Cody Posey?
Well, I would like to see him acquitted on it, but or the manslaughter with a probationary type deal where we can get him the counseling and the therapy and stuff that Cody is really going to need over the next several years of his life, and get him somewhere where he's happy. And that's one of the most important things to me.
All right, Slim Britton, tip of the hat to you. Thank you so much for joining us. After the break, we'll talk with Cody Posey's attorney, Gary Mitchell. Plus, there's plenty more with the panel. And remember, we're watching that courtroom for any sign of activity. The verdict could come in at any moment, so don't go anywhere. And you can vote on tonight's 13th juror question by logging on to courttv.com. We'll give you the final tally at the end of the show. Be right back.